Welcome students to the class of Economics 12th. So, till now we are in the course of Indian economic development, and the last session we have seen the Indian economy at the era of 1947 to 1990, and we have seen that even after implementing the Industrial Policy Resolution 1956, there was not a considerable change in Indian economy. There was not a great rise in the standard of living or employment, or we can say an increase in output or GDP has been observed. So what was necessary was to overcome all such miseries that were still prevailing in India. So for this purpose and for more adversities, we just need to find out some bigger solution in order to overcome the challenges or problems that were still persisting even after the implementation of Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. See students, when we were discussing Industrial Policy Resolution, we told you that there was a great role of the public sector and the private ownership, or we can say privatization, was given the secondary role, basically a very insignificant role, since they were under the foundation of licensing, permit and quotas. Import tariffs were so huge, up to 400% of the amount of the duty was to be charged. For this, there was a basically great limitation for the competitive product to be entered into India. All this had been done in just in order to implement the import substitution policy to raise the domestic consumption, domestic production, because our Indian population was on the verge of a great rise. So again, I was saying that we just need a very proper solution to overcome all such challenges, and for this, in 1991, when the economic crisis emerges out and we were in a dire need of, great need of funds, and when we went on to the IBRD, that was previously known as Industrial Bank Industrial Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Now it has been renamed as, or it has been split into two organizations, that is International Monetary Fund and World Bank. So when India approached them for $7 billion loans, they just put their condition in front of India that India just need to release or just remove restriction for the international trade, as well as to release down to relax the import duties, to just permit the FDIs and portfolio investment, and to devalue its currency. So there are a lot of factors that for which India has had to abide by, and there was no other option for us, since our domestic production was not up to such level so that we can counter our independence and sufficiency. So with this topic, we are starting with the concept of economic reforms. It means in 1991, under the Prime Ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao and Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, a new economic policy was implemented that gave rise to three major issues, that is liberalization, privatization, globalization. Now, reason was that poor performance of PSU. PSUs were just undergoing for heavy losses, since whosoever were the government officials that were on the post were not efficient or were not making their post up for their optimum utilization. It means we just wanted efficient staff, efficient management, but still there was a very poor performance of PSU. The profits were going down and down. Then deficit in BOP. Balance of payment was under the complete deficit, since the import were on the rise. Even the companies or the firms or producers in India were in very less number to export goods from India. Inflationary pressures. Yes, inflationary pressures was on the verge of rise. It means whatsoever the goods produced, we just need to buy them at their respective price. Since we were not having any choices, we were not having any different types of goods and services prevailing at that time. There were no particularly brand loyalty, since the brands were very few, since the imports were restricted. No foreign company was allowed to come into India without fulfilling the restrictive trade practices. Now, absence of healthy competition. Healthy competition was still absent since I told you that there were very few firms of foreign that were operating in India as well as our Indian concern. The private firms are very less, and since they were overburdened by the process of licensing, permits and quotas. Then naturally there were a fall in forex reserves since we need to import a lot of crude oil or oil. We need to purchase oil for transportation system for various concerns, right? As well as we just need to utilize our foreign exchange for buying imported goods for heavy-handed machines with their respective duties. So there was a constant fall in the forex reserve and India was not in a proper position to deal with these situations. Rising burden of debt borrowings, even as I told you that when India have reached to the International Monetary Fund and World Bank for their loan, before that they have raised the loan from several foreign banks, several institution organization, but still the situation was under the debt spiral. The debt will keep on rising, the production was not up to the mark, and India was facing a economic crisis and liquidity crunch at that time. Inefficient management of the government, since the staff was totally in the hands of corruption, where we used to take bribe for every purpose, let it be the licensing, let it be the permission of any quotas, or if someone or some private entrepreneurs want to expand or diversify his or her business, even he needs to pay some sort of bribe to every person in the concerned government department. So we say these are basically the reasons for the necessity to implement a new economic policy. So the crisis of 1991, it means there was a huge economic crisis and inflationary pressures were so mounting high that our Indians or Indian people were just getting burdened with all of such amount of pressures. The prices were on the rise, so to overcome it, India reached IBRD for their $7 billion loans. It means they facilitated some conditions for them to release import barriers, to permit trade relations with the rest of the world, to devalue Indian rupee. Almost 20%, with 20% amount, Indian rupee was devalued. With this process, the process continues from 1991 till 2020 of today, where Indian rupee was constantly depreciating thereon. It means we always said that we need to progress hard for international trade, especially we need to increase our export procedures, but still we are just lagging behind from the imports. Now, formulation of NEP. We talk about the formulation of economic policy in 1991 under the Prime Ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao and Prime Minister, Finance Minister Manmohan Singh. As I told you, we have permitted LPG in order to replace LPQ, that is licensing permit and quotas. We just need to abolish these things because these are the major issues that should have been abolished long before. Since they have restricted the private entrepreneurship to rise and to work with full ease and with full independence of freedom. Now, if we talk about the first topic, that is liberalization, it means liberalization means to relax or to release the regulations from someone. Now, if we want that the person should work freely, independently, we should liberalize him to do, and he should use his own autonomy of performance. It means when he is thinking that I can do this task without any due restriction, he will be able to give the better and much more optimum results that one can feel if the more restrictions or supervision is placed on him. So, with this objective, we say liberalization to relax or release restrictions for smooth trade industrial operations across the nations. We just need to permit the trade relation, industrial relation with the least possible restrictions or regulations or formalities, as we say. Government control over private owners. It means we just need to minimization or removal of excess government control over private owners. It means now the time has arrived where we just need to simplify the procedures of regulation and restrictions over private entrepreneurs. We just wanted them to just start the business operation as per their own needs, subject to certain restrictions over certain sectors that have been kept still by the management of government. Now, if we talk about the objectives to promote efficiency, growth, competitiveness, equity through private participation and introduce global technologies and innovations. That was true that we just need a high-end technology to be entered into India, innovations to be entered into India, to have a great healthy atmosphere for competition, so that every firm must compete with one another and should bring a very high qualitative goods at a reasonable price. So that the consumer must benefit it, the people of India should have a higher standard of living by getting higher amount of goods and services at a very reasonable price. It must be leading to the optimum utilization of resources on the side of private producers and rural producers also by accepting the global technologies. We can say liberalization was undertaken by the following reforms. We have categorized 4 reforms. First, industrial reform, fiscal reform, financial reforms, and global reforms. So we have made 4 categories of the reforms. If we say about industrial reforms, we can study industrial reforms from the first 5 letters of alphabet, that is A, B, C, D, E. A stands for abolition of licensing. It means we have to remove complete licensing from the privatization. It means the private owners are free to operate, start, expand and diversify their business. No restrictions. B, boost imports of capital goods. It means we have started boosting the import of capital goods. We have started boosting the capital goods. It means you are allowed to purchase capital goods from any part of the world without any permission from the government at your own ease. Then C, we just need to undertake for the contraction of public sector. It means we just need to see that our contraction of it means we just need to limit the role of public sector so that they must not be able to enlarge themselves and take away the area of private sector too. And by this way only the modern bakery was still made privatization in the year 2000. So we can say we just need to contract or squeeze the area of private public sector, and we just need to provide more freedom for the privatization to come into force to start and to increase the level of GDP. Then we just need to see the de-reservation. De-reservation means whatever the areas allotted to the small scale industries now are open to everyone. It means the big concern, big enterprises, the big private owners, the big private players or global players can also operate in the areas of small scale industries too. So we just de-reserve the areas of small scale industries where the reservation was basically allocated to exercise only. Yes, we need to have a great amount of GDP, we had no other choice. Expansion of capacity, definitely we just need to increase the expansion. For this, we just wanted that there must be great amount of industrial areas to establish, government established in every possible state several industrial areas, and the private firm just jumped into the arena of industrial sector by initiating the level of increasing industries. So this is basically industrial reform that we have seen. We can study in the form of A, B, C, D, E. I repeat once again: A for abolition of licensing, B stands for boosting of import of capital goods, C, we just need to contract the role of public sector, D, de-reservation of SSI areas, and E, expansion of capacity that we need to undertake. Then we come fiscal reform. Fiscal reform is concerned with the taxation. It means government have revenue receipts in the form of direct tax as well as indirect tax. Direct tax we can have the taxation in the form of income tax, wealth tax, corporate tax. Indirect tax, we were having several tax earlier that were known as, for example, service tax, value added tax, central sales tax, state service sales tax, and so on. So we just need to concentrate, and we have given the name to all the tax into one, that is known as today as GST, Goods and Services Tax. That was implemented on 1st of July 2017, right? So it has led to the merging of several taxes into one in order to facilitate the basically phrase one tax, one nation policy. So if we talk about fiscal reform, it is concerned with the simplification of taxation that were tedious and complex earlier, led to low tax receipts to government. It means people were very reluctant to pay taxes, and they were in the dilemma that if I am going to disclose my money, would I be able to pay a higher amount of tax or lower amount of tax, because basically under the lack of or absence of knowledge of taxation. It means, again, it was a necessity for the government to relax the procedure of taxation or simplify the procedure of taxation. That's why we have implemented the concept GST. And GST has been implemented in three forms: in input GST, output GST, ICGST or SGST. Tax rate, if we talk about the tax rate of the GST, it varies from 0% to 28%. So 0%, 5%, 12%, 28%, and so on. They are the rates by which we can say the rates are being applicable on several goods and services. Now, if we come up to the financial reform is concerned with the three sectors, that is stock exchange, banking, right? And moreover, the other financial services that we need to regulate, and that previously they were under the regulation of government. We just need to relax these financial activities so that more and more funds in the form of finance should be channelized into the economy. For this, we made RBI as a facilitator than regulator. RBI acted as a supervisor, and RBI has given more autonomy to just supervise and maintain the control of banking functions, so that there must be more infusion of money supply, there must be more infusion of the banking procedure. That's why we have undertaken the privatization of banking too. So, in financial reform we say use RBI as a facilitator and supervisor than regulator. We undertook the process of demonetization, where we just ruled out the old notes of 500 and 1000 rupees on 8th of November 2016. It means on that day, the old notes of 500 and 1000 become totally operative, and in the absence of these, we have just demonetized almost 86 to 87% of the total money supply in the economy in the form of these notes. And against that, we started to issue the new notes of 500, rupees 2000 notes, 100 and rupees 200 new notes into the economy. Then we just need to normalize the monetary and banking policy. That was the major concern, so that people should not be under the dilemma or under the thinking or low mentality that we are not going to get the funds if they are operating in a rural area or another area, or we need to fulfill the lot amount of formalities or restrictions for getting a fund or loan from any of the government or private bank. Since the government officials was not working to the optimum level, it was again necessary for the financial reforms to be undertaken with very great relaxation and release of the regulated procedures. Now, global reforms means we just need to ease the imports, we just need to release the restriction for import and export, as well as we just need to permit the trade relations with foreign nations so that they come into India, they make their FDI and PI into India, so that India must get the great amount of capital receipts in these form of FDI and portfolio management. So this is basically one form that we have discussed, that is liberalization. It means where the government undertook to liberalize the procedure of industries, liberalize the procedure of fiscal or taxation procedure, liberalize the procedure of banking and financial services, liberalize the procedure of international trade measures, or we can say in the form of global reform.